Well, we're looking for your help now to try and solve a mystery that's perplexed and bewildered scientific experts to UFOs. But two men, Colin Andrews and Pat Delgado, who now devote all their free time to researching the phenomenon, discount these explanations. We asked them to put together their own report on the strange occurrences. Little did we know that our camera crew were to be unwittingly drawn into the controversy, as you'll now see.
We know for sure, since 1975, across central southern England, extraordinary things have been happening. Formations, swirled patterns, have been appearing in the cereal crops and other vegetation at an alarmingly increasing rate. We are looking at densities dramatically high now of something in the region of 230 or so in 4 months of this year. This circle here is the largest we've ever seen. Something extraordinary is happening. We are looking at a phenomenon which is evolving.
My name is Pat Delgado, and before I retired, my profession was an electromechanical design engineer. During my career, I worked at Woomera Rocket and Weapons Range for 2 years, and after that, I was subcontracted to work for NASA. Here we were tracking spacecraft to the Moon, Mars, and Venus. So really, I am very much a feet on the ground type of person. I well remember when I first became interested in this particular subject, it was in August 1981. I looked down into the Punch Bowl, which is a natural amphitheatre and associated with quite a lot of history. And there before me were 3 quite large circles. It sort of brought me to a shuddering halt for a moment. I was stopped in my tracks. I felt that what I was gazing at was something quite important.
I'm Colin Andrews. I'm a senior officer in the local government Test Valley Borough Council in West Hampshire. I'm responsible for communications, emergency planning. All of my spare time now is spent on this research. The more reports we receive from all sorts of people, the military, the police air support units, from the members of the public and from the farming communities, become, in some respects, more and more bizarre. We've been friends right from the very start. We respect one another. We have the same sense of humour as well.
Was it 4 or 5 degrees, Pat?
Yes.
We do know that there's nobody in the world that has the answer, yet we have been very successful in eliminating many possibilities. We do have, we believe, hard evidence that these formations are not created by stationary whirlwinds. We have eliminated the helicopter downwash theory and the hoax theory. This is not archaeological. It has nothing to do with the soil strata or the chemical application of the farmers. We have been very successful in eliminating a number of possibilities, but the cause is still unknown. I think that basically the bottom line is that we are open, entirely open in our thinking. I have, through other people's assistance, been able to learn the art, if that's what it is, of dowsing to a limited degree. Pat has gone through the stage at which I am at and has gone very, very much further.
My inquisitive mind was saying, I don't want to be sidetracked. I just want to see if there's some correlation between the forces I was detecting by dowsing and the forces I thought may be associated with circles. The circle here at Beckhampton in Wiltshire is fairly adjacent to Avebury, Silbury Hill and the Sanctuary, which are well-known centres for hunting. I became aware that there was a junction of these various forces emanating from these well-known locations. It was gratifying to know that the feelings I had when entering the circle were brought to light in a dramatic way, unfortunately for the cameraman and for the crew in general.
That's a terrible noise, just as you stand in the centre.
You're getting a noise there, Richard?
Very, very bad indeed.
Yeah, I can hear it here. I can feel it here.
Friend back, Pat. This is our old friend back.
It is. Yeah.
Is it a pulse?
It's like
I think it's about here.
an electronic sparrow, really, is the best description.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. This is the same noise as we're having analysed at Sussex now.
Just in the centre of the circle,
And over,
coming and going as you move.
That's great. That's at the centre of the vortex.
just here.
Very, very
Just
bad.
here.
Very bad there.
Yes, yeah, I can hear it and I can feel it too.
It's quite extraordinary.
I've gone out of it here.
Not quite, no.
Just a little bit. It's over here. It's here. There. That's it.
Oh, yes.
Is that loud, isn't it?
Yes, very, yeah.
Yeah.
I could hear it from here.
I know what it is. I can feel it. It's like a... I can walk around the edge of it. That's gone.
Yeah, it's gone now, completely.
Gone.
Yep.
I'll tell you when you're in it. There. There.
It's disappeared now.
No, it's here.
The column is nearly always there. It's whether it's active.
It's just not having an effect anymore
That's
now.
right.
The effect's just disappeared again.
No, there's something very deeply involved here. Something very deep.
Now it's dissipating now.
This
It's
is outside our
dissipating.
own science, you see. We're breaking new ground.
That was a burst. It comes like that, stays, and then disappears.
Away.
And you can't pin it down because it's rather nebulous.
You can't play with poltergeist.
But it's gone now. It's all freed up now.
Certainly gone now.
It's gone.
See, that's how it comes home to us, how real we know this is. You see, there are many other facets to this that we don't usually go on camera with, but that happens to have happened here. But, it's very deep. I must say, I'd like to say how excited I was to hear the soundtrack replayed yesterday, because that component is known to us. We are currently having a sound identical to it in every way, being analysed at Sussex University and recorded inside a circle near Winchester, some 45 miles away from the event yesterday. It is of relevance, and we really do require understanding of the media and of the public whilst we now move this forward into a new area of research. Probably the last formation of this year was in every way different and special. It was the biggest formation we've ever seen, 100 feet across the central circle alone. And here it is, it's presented us with the gift of moving this research forward into 1990, hopefully with the understanding of everybody around us.
And I would, as a final opportunity, like to ask you, the viewers, if you have real deep feelings and thoughts about what has occurred here today, I would like you to put forward your theories, to contact us and to help us with our investigations, to find out what we can do. Give us your ideas of what you think should happen from here on in. Here we are dealing with a mystery. The mystery we feel could very well have a message. And it seems to be in a hurry, this message.
We really are at 10 seconds to midnight. The public do know in their inner self what a dreadful, dreadful state the planet is in. We have to face the fact that we are destroying this planet. the very planet we require for our survival, there may well be some intelligence involved here, some thinking. Something very important is going on here.
Well, it's odd, isn't it? Well, what do you think of the electronic sparrow we recorded? In the words of one BBC technical expert, it has left a number of us scratching our heads. As Pat said on the film, we want you to help with the investigation into the mystery. Have you witnessed any strange events connected with crop circles? Do you believe you can explain what's causing them? We'll be returning to the subject on Friday's programme when Colin Andrews and Pat Delgado will be joining us in the studio. If you have a point you'd like to put to them, you can either write to us. The address is Crop Circles, Daytime Live, BBC Pebble Mill, Birmingham B5 7QQ, or phone us after today's programme. We'll be keeping the lines open for an extra half an hour. That's after the programme. There'll be a reminder of our phone number at the end of the programme.
Something very strange happened this summer when we went to film with Pat Delgado and Colin Andrews. We were filming crop circles, round, flattened areas in fields of corn, 240 of which have been sighted across central southern England this year alone. On Tuesday, we showed that film and had a tidal wave of response. Both radio and television news followed the story, as did the national press. Let's look back on what the fuss was all about before we hear about your own response to it. The mysterious circles were recorded as early as the 1940s. Many theories have been put forward to try and explain their formation: the weather, practical jokers, or little green men, but as yet no satisfactory answer has emerged. Colin Andrews and Pat Delgado are dedicated to solving the puzzle.
We do know that there's nobody in the world that has the answer, yet we have been very successful in eliminating a number of possibilities, but the cause is still unknown. Basically, the bottom line is that we are open, entirely open in our thinking.
The investigations took an unexpected turn when inexplicable faults developed in the Daytime Live recording equipment. It began with faults in the camera, and then came the more disturbing noises on the sound tape.
A big lump of it. Back there.
There.
Yeah.
Is it a pulse?
It's like
I think it's about here.
an electronic sparrow, really, is the best description.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I can hear it and I can feel it too.
It's quite extraordinary.
I'm very pleased this incident has occurred. It provides an opportunity, completely unrehearsed, with the BBC cameramen to prove that there is something else going on besides that connected with conventional science. If you, the viewers, if you have real deep feelings and thoughts about what has occurred here today, I would like you to put forward your theories, to contact us and to help us with our investigation.
We really are at 10 seconds to midnight. The public do know in their inner self what a dreadful, dreadful state the planet is in. We have to face the fact that we are destroying this planet, the very planet we require for our survival. There may well be some intelligence involved here, some thinking. Something very important is going on here.
A most mysterious story. Well, Colin and Pat are with us now. What I must ask you, Colin, is what you mean by 10 seconds to midnight, which gave it all a real sort of sci-fi feel.
Yes, well, I think everybody is aware that the planet is indeed in extreme difficulty. Many of its support systems, natural support systems, are closing down.
But how does that relate to crop circles? I mean, it's...
Well, we have noted over the last 7 years that this phenomenon is evolving. the formations, the patterns, the symmetry is evolving at an unnatural rate. Even if we accept that this, at the end of the day, turns out to be a natural phenomenon, something is in a hurry here.
You're worried
very,
about
very
this is
quickly.
just your personal idea that it may be related to that. You've nothing conclusive to prove.
We have conclusive evidence that this is evolving very, very quickly, faster than anything known in known history.
Let's talk to Richard Merrick, who was the sound recordist in question. Richard, have you encountered these noises before?
Never, Alan. Not at all. It was the most peculiar noise. We were using a small device like this, as a little radio transmitter that Pat was wearing in the centre of the circle.
And I'm wearing it now.
You're
It's
wearing
the one we wear all the
an
time,
identical
yeah.
one at the moment. The noise appears to be not in the radio system, but actually heard on the microphone itself, which is this part. And this is the actual device, and it's worked perfectly up to that date and ever since that date.
And you couldn't, so you couldn't explain it yourself?
I couldn't explain
Any
it.
other pieces of equipment affected?
The camera played up from the moment we started filming. Conclusively, we can't say whether the crop circle generated an effect that caused that. Suffice it to say, it needed almost a major rebuild. It did some very peculiar things.
A major rebuild. Gentlemen, does this accord with findings you've had before? Have you heard these peculiar sounds before?
We have indeed.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
have indeed.
It was at one particular place near Winchester in a field where I was doing some recording. I went there fairly late at night just to see what the effect was, taking a tape recorder into the circle and just let it run. And when I played it back, I was astounded at what I heard with this nebulous little trilling whistle that seemed to be floating over the tops of the crops. At the time, I say it floated on top of the crops because I had some idea that there was something happening there, and playing the recording back verified it.
So you didn't actually hear it yourself when you were there, but your tape recorder picked it up?
That's right, but I had the sense
That something
was there, yes.
We had a most stunning post bag. I mean, hundreds of letters. Now, what I'd like to do, because everybody out there seems to have their own pet theory or question about what it could be, can I put as many of these to you as possible, so at least, you know, you can say, no, it's not that and this is why, but I'd like to motor through as many as we can. David Rex Taylor, for instance, says there is perhaps some circumstantial evidence of a hoax, and the most likely candidates seem to be Pat Delgado and Colin Andrews themselves. Now, are you hoaxing?
Well, certainly not. We've been through this so many times, and as Colin and I know very well, that we have actually constructed a couple of circles ourselves just to see what the effect is by using a pole or treading it down with your feet. Yeah. And the result is always damage. If you try and push the crop down at all, it isn't bent over in a precise manner. It's crushed and bent and damaged. And for the want of a better term...
It's not the same effect.
It's not the same effect in a naturally created circle.
Right. Dr. Derek Elsimer, I gather this from a rival research organisation, the Toro Research Centre, says the latest explanation of the circle's effect is that it's due to a large electrically charged swirling mass of air, in other words, a mini whirlwind.
Right. Totally, that has been eliminated, totally eliminated. We are in direct contact and receive all of the computer data from Bracknell and 16 other Met bureaus in Europe, and there is not one consistency in the data to support a meteorological thesis.
Right. C.P. Dennison of Leamington Spa says it's the approach of Hercules transport planes. Wingtips cause a downward vortex.
Yes, we've had this one thrown at us as well. But for this to become a reality, we've all seen probably at air displays and things like that, the vortice coming off the wingtips of a plane, but this would have to be quite large. It would have to rotate 90 degrees, come carefully down on the ground, and carefully lay down all the crops precisely in the manner that we see them. How's this going to work? It just isn't on.
End of the question.
Here we've got Lee R. Morehouse from Birmingham saying magnetic fields are the only force he can think of that can draw such perfect circular shapes. Magnetic field?
I think we're prepared to accept there probably is a connection.
That could be a possibility.
It's probably in the formula. I think that's fair to say.
We've now got Margaret I'm sorry to motor. I think it's so important that people all get their say in. Margaret Chambers of Newthorpe in Notts says she thinks they're caused by water deep underground suddenly falling, causing something like a whirlpool.
Well, there is maybe some connection with water under the ground, because as we all know, subterranean water does have some energy because of its flow system through the strata of the rock systems. But whether there's a sudden collapse, it would have to be very precise this collapsing energy by the time it got to the Earth's surface and pulled down these precise circles.
The water thing is interesting because it's reflected in several people's letters. C.L. Jackson of Bristol says he noticed that all the circles shown appear to have a clockwise direction of collapse. Is that
not so?
That's not so.
Not so. We've contra-rotation. I think perhaps to add very quickly to that, Alan, also, is that the noise that you have picked up whilst during one of our interviews would support also the fact that this is not in the equation. We've had a noise of that precise same kind in much more bizarre circumstances traverse across 2 fields towards us, 9 observers, scientists most of them, in a circle. That same noise circled us entirely whilst we were stood in a circle. It then moved eastwards, extremely directional in its source, and indeed Hampshire Police then reported a circle and a ring having been discovered where the noise disappeared to over the top of the hill during a surveillance operation. So it is far beyond that.
It gets curiouser and curiouser, as Alice said. J.R. Swift of Ormskirk in Lancashire. Do these circles ever appear in crops that are devoid of tram lines?
Well, I think they do. Yes, I don't think it's a case of being so selective that they must have tram lines or anything like that. I think our book pointed out very well that there is a great selection of various localities where these crops occur in wheat, barley, ryegrass, maize, sweet corn, and even 30-foot high pine
And they've happened
trees.
in many counties in Britain and also overseas as well, so it's not just...
Oh yes,
that,
it's worldwide phenomenon.
That one patch.
Yeah.
Can I go to somebody in the audience? Because we have in the audience Anne Evans, who was at home the other day when our first broadcast came on. And there you were at home. You had a strange experience, you say?
That's right. I'm a psychic medium, and on Tuesday morning I was doing my housework, and my voice told me, stop doing the housework and sit down and put on the TV. BBC One. Not needing to be told twice to stop doing housework, I immediately did as I was told, and there was the programme on crop circles. And during the course of the item, it told me quite categorically that I may be able to assist in some way, and that was the reason for my phoning in. If I can help in any way, I'm only too happy to do so.
Is Anne's experience reflected? Have you had other people like this?
Well, we have, yes. We've had quite a lot of help and advice from people in Anne's particular way of life, and we find that maybe in there somewhere is the answer. If conventional science can't give us the answers, where do we turn next? And I think it's most important that we should open our minds in this direction, because who knows, the answer may be there.
What has never been known up to now is exactly how these circles form. Nobody's seen them form, at least nobody has seen them form until now, because at 7 p.m. last night we opened one letter from Sandy Reid of Dundee, the only person we've encountered who has actually, according to himself, seen a crop circle being formed. He's in our audience now. We flew him down early this morning. Sandy, can you tell us your story? You live near Dundee. You were out walking, I gather, in the early hours of the morning. Just take up the story and tell us what happened.
Well, as I study foxes, I've been studying foxes for the last 2 years. And this particular night I'd went out overnight and been watching the foxes up until 5:30 in the morning. And then I started to head back home. And when I go home, I pass the cornfields, which are below the hill where I watch the foxes. And as I was passing the field, I heard rustling in the field, and I looked over and I thought it was roe deer at first, so I crouched down that's what I do, you just freeze, and then if there's any animals there, you're going to see them. So what I noticed was that the crop was swaying, but only in one part of the field. I looked around the whole field and there was no other swaying, and then within about a minute, the whole crop just collapsed.
In a circle?
In a complete circle. There was no wind. There was no whirlwinds or stuff like that.
Now, there will be people who doubt your story and say, this chap's been watching telly and he's just come down here to sort of, you know, get himself on television. But you swear that your story is true?
That's true.
There you sat. Gentlemen, he's yours.
Well, could we ask him, please, the gentleman, what the symmetry, how did the plants lie to the ground? Was it a radial sort of burst? Did they just collapse, or did they swirl?
No, the most of them went in the one direction, and then they started to cut back as you got over, about halfway over the circle.
Yeah, Sandy, when you actually walked into the circle, did you?
No, I waited a couple of minutes because to see if anything was going to move.
Yes.
That caused it.
Yes, because it would be rather unexpected.
I was above the field. I was on
above
the
it, looking down into
looking
it.
down into the field.
And when you walked into the circle, were you able to establish if the flattening process actually left a spiral pattern in the field, in the circle, sorry?
There was a circular, it was a circle, but as I say, most of the corners seemed to be going in one direction until it got over halfway. It was over half was going in one direction, about a quarter was going spiralling round.
Sure, in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction.
It just seemed to be all over, sort of.
I see.
And it
Were there precise edges to the circle?
There was a precise edge, except for it wasn't a complete circle. There was one part where there was roughly 3 or 4 feet it went out into a V shape. That was the right.
So it appeared to have some kind of tail attached to it.
Possible.
It's
Yeah.
a small spur pushing out or coming in.
But I walked round the circle looking to see if I could see a trail that any animals had went through or anything. There was no trails.
We'll give you a chance to have more of a go,
Yeah,
Sandy, afterwards. It is an amazing saga. From what you've heard, from all the letters we've had, from all your researches over the years, what do you think is causing it? What are your theories?
Well, we differ slightly in this, and that's a perfectly healthy thing. I have to say that after 6 years, as far as I am concerned, looking at this in every moment of my spare time, and I feel that there is a very heavy leaning in the data which suggests that there is some thinking involved here. I think there is some form of intelligence.
So you're saying, actually, that the nearest thing that we're going to get to it is little green men?
No, not at all.
Oh.
Not at all. Nothing to do with little green men. No,
But something that we do not, in our conscience, fully understand.
Well, we don't understand it at the moment, but we are looking in this direction. I mean, after all, as I said before, if the top scientists who have been helping us can't produce the answer through conventional science, where are we going to look to? We have to, what is it, the paranormal, the spirit world, or something like that? Maybe the answer is in there, I don't know.
We'll find it
But
if it's there. We hope you'll be able to come back and
I hope
join
so.
us. We've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us on
Thank
that.
you.
Keep us informed of developments, and we'll cover it if it's there. Thank you all, gentlemen and audience, very much indeed.
Yes, no doubt we'll be hearing a lot more following that debate. That's our lot for this week. We've got some great guests with us next week, though.